mind as fast as machine gun fire, and a hide as tough as a bulletproof vest. He is the best detective on the force. Despite all odds, his objective is to crack every case that comes his way and bring the riffraff to justice. Beneath that trench coat is a real law enforcement machine with a soft spot for society's weak, vulnerable, and innocent. His name is Dick TRACY. In a deserted garage on the wrong side of town, 5 ugly men play poker. Their strange, twisted bodies are reflections of their names. Shoulders, Stooge, the rodent, the brow, and little face.
6, possible straight. Queen, pair. 9, no help. Well, little face, you in or not?
The card players dive for cover as a black sedan crashes through the garage door. Moments later, 5 corpses lie sprawled across the floor. A man with cruel eyes and a head that's nearly flat surveys his grim work. It's Flat Top, #1 hitman for crime boss Al Big Boy Caprice. The driver, Itchy, removes all identification from the dead men. Then they disappear into the night as quickly as they came. Across town at the Opera House, there's an unearthly shriek. It's a high C. A fat soprano waddles across the stage. In the audience are a very bored police detective, Dick TRACY, and his girlfriend, the radiant Tess Trueheart.
Tracy, you should be ashamed of yourself, yawning at the Grand Opera.
Well, I,
Calling Dick TRACY. Calling Dick TRACY.
saved by my wrist radio. Tracy here. Go ahead, Pat.
There are 5 unidentified bodies in the 7th Street garage. You'd better get over here right away.
All right, Pat. Hang on. I'm on my way. I'll be back, Tess. I want to know how this thing comes out.
When Tracy arrives at the garage, he finds detectives Pat Patton and Sam Ketchum waiting for him. Tracy uncovers each of the bodies.
Little face, the brow, the rodents. They're all Lips Manless's men.
Someone's out to get Lips, huh, Tracy?
Looks like it, Sam.
Tracy barks out instructions to a team of lab technicians.
I want a photograph of everything, and don't get artistic. I'll take one of these empty shell casings along. Gotta get back to Tess, boys. Handle things here.
Tracy rejoins Tess at the Opera House, where he suffers through another hour of high seas. Afterward, he and Tess stop by Mike's diner for a bite to eat. As Tracy opens the door, he's rammed in the stomach. It's a young boy, a street urchin, running for his life. An elderly gentleman charges out after him.
He stole my watch! Grab that kid! He stole my watch!
Tracy sprints after the young hoodlum, running through dark alleys to a railroad yard, where the pint-sized thief cuts across the tracks just before a speeding train blocks Tracy's way. Confident he's escaped, the kid hurries off to a deserted shack not far away. Inside, he finds a muscular tramp gnawing on a greasy chicken leg.
You're late. Let me see the loot. Nice watch. What else?
That's all.
That's all. Well, you little...
A shadow darkens the doorway.
Why don't you try that on me, tough guy?
Who are you, mister?
Dick TRACY. I'm a cop. If you're gonna be a tough guy, maybe you ought to learn how to fight.
Tracy slaps a pair of cuffs on the fallen man and collars the kid.
We're going downtown to jail. Come on, both of you. Let's go.
Across town is the Club Ritz, a gambling casino disguised as a nightclub. At a private corner table sits its owner, Lips Manless, a fat dandy in a black tuxedo, who mistakenly believes he also owns the dazzling blonde singer at his side, Breathless Mahoney.
You make me sick when you eat oysters like that, Lips.
You didn't used to think so, Breathless.
You didn't used to be the size of a blimp.
Customers flee as several policemen enter the nightclub. The officers take Lips and Breathless to a waiting police car, where in the back seat, Flat Top sits cradling a Tommy gun.
Flat Top? Hey, these guys ain't real cops.
Hiya, Lips.
They drive to a warehouse in the harbor, where Big Boy Caprice is waiting, cracking walnuts with his bare hand. The thugs push Lips to the floor. Big Boy hands him a paper and a pen.
Sign it. Club Ritz?
With shaking hands, Lips signs over his club to Big Boy.
You dirty Lips. You need a bath.
Big Boy's men shove Lips into a large wooden crate. As the cement mixer rolls up, Big Boy takes a look at Breathless.
You.
Me?
You're mine now, see? And around me you wear mink or you wear nothing.
Well, I look good both ways.
Big Boy tips the mixer, and thick cement pours into the crate. Flat Top slaps a cover on it. A trap door opens, and the crate plummets 20 feet into the river below. Big Boy barks out his next orders.
Put the word out. Lips' territory is my territory now. Everybody who worked for him works for me. Everything he owned, I own. Now clean this place up. Let's get out of here.
At Mike's Diner, near the Opera House, Tracy and Tess watch the kid stuff his face like there's no tomorrow.
Hey, you got a name?
Kid.
What's the name your mother and father gave you?
What mother and father?
Tess, we gotta call the Welfare Society.
You ain't sticking me in no orphanage.
Sit down, sit down. I'm sorry, pal. How about some ice cream?
Calling Dick Tracy. Calling Dick Tracy.
Come in, Pat.
Southside warehouse on the river. Something's going on. Better get down there fast.
On my way.
Wow, how do I get me one of those?
Easy, become a cop. Tess, I gotta go. Keep an eye on the eating machine, will you? Take him to my apartment or something. Here, this'll cover it.
At the Southside warehouse, Tracy finds a blue sapphire earring and slips it into his pocket. Then he notices something else.
Walnuts. Sam, get these fingerprinted. Pat, bring in Flat Top, Itchy, and the Mole.
Bring them in? For what?
I want to find Lips Manless. Fast.
Pat quickly rounds up Big Boy's thugs, and under interrogation, the Mole spills the beans. Tracy secretly records the confession for later use. The information leads to the Club Ritz, where Big Boy is watching Breathless Mahoney rehearse a new number.
My lover's gone. He's the one that I'll always adore. Oh, he's gone. Yes, he's gone. And I never will see him anymore. Where did he go? Did he leave me for somebody new? All I know is he's gone, and I'm feeling so lonely, I'm so blue.
Tracy bursts through the door, pushing Flat Top, Itchy, and the Mole in front of him. Pat and Sam follow.
We meet again, Big Boy. Here's your garbage.
This is a private club, copper. You got a membership card?
Do you?
I own it.
Since when?
Since today. I made a deal with Lips Manless.
Lips? Where is he?
How should I know? Out of town or something.
You like walnuts, don't you?
A lot of people like walnuts. They're good for the liver.
Yeah, but I guess they're bad for the brain. You're too messy, big boy. You make mistakes. You're under arrest. Get him out of here, boys.
Let's go. Move it along.
A few minutes later, Breathless sits alone in her dressing room, sipping a drink. Dick Tracy walks in. He notices she's wearing one blue sapphire earring.
You're breaking and entering, you know.
Sorry.
Sit down. Aren't you going to arrest me?
If I were, I'd have done it by now. I want to know who killed Lips Manless. And I want you to say so in court.
You want a lot, don't you, Copper?
Whose side are you on now, Breathless? Big boys?
I'm on the side I'm always on. Mine.
You know, I could take you in and sweat it out of you under the lights.
I sweat a lot better in the dark. I know how you feel. You don't know if you want to hit me or kiss me. I get a lot of that.
Look, you're safe. Big boy's in jail. If you want to help keep him there, give me a call.
Is that really why you want me to call, Mr. Detective?
Tracy returns to his apartment a short time later, where he finds the kid asleep in his bed. In the front room, Tess has nodded off in a chair. Tracy kneels beside her and gently touches her hair.
Oh, my goodness, what time is it?
6:30. Thanks for taking care of the kid.
Pat says he'll talk to the orphanage today. Gosh, I've got to get to the greenhouse, Tracy. I have those new Delphinians coming in this morning.
Tess?
Huh?
You're one in a million.
The next morning, Tracy gets some bad news at the police lab. There are no fingerprints on the walnut shells. Meanwhile, at City Hall, Big Boy has just been released from jail.
Big Al, wait a minute.
He's met by a crush of reporters and photographers.
Mr. Caprice! Another case of police brutality, boys. It's lucky I don't bruise easy.
Mr. Caprice! Mr. Caprice, do you intend to take legal action against the city for false arrest?
Why should I blame the city for one man's doing? This Tracy character is unstable. The city should get rid of him.
One more question.
That's it, sorry. That's all for now, boys.
Later that day, Tracy is summoned to the office of District Attorney John Fletcher. He finds the DA waiting angrily with Police Chief Brandon.
How can I support some crazy police detective beating up private citizens, kidnapping them, making false arrests, and throwing them in jail?
Now hold on a minute, Fletcher.
Chief, I'm a candidate for mayor. If you can't keep Detective Tracy under control, you'll just have to take him off duty, or I'll prosecute him and take you off duty.
Tracy spends the rest of the afternoon cooling out with Tess and the kid. They visit the greenhouse, shoot pool, and take a nice long drive in the country. Late that evening, the kid is fast asleep as they pull up outside Tess's apartment. Tracy walks Tess to the door, fumbling to ask a question only she can answer.
Tess, I think it's time we...
Yes, Tracy?
Just then, the kid awakens to see a black sedan with its lights off moving up the street. A Tommy gun is sticking out one of its windows, pointed in their direction.
Tracy, look out!
Tess and Tracy dive for the doorway as bullets tear into the building. The kid huddles on the floor of the car. Moments later, the sedan speeds off. Tracy sprints over to his car.
Are you all right, kid?
Yeah, I'm okay. Who was it, Tracy?
I don't know.
I thought we was goners.
They're just trying to scare us, kid.
Later that night, Tracy works at his desk while the kid sleeps on the couch. The front door opens, and breathless Mahoney glides in. carrying a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses.
Thanks for calling. I was wondering what a girl had to do to get arrested.
She pours the champagne and leans seductively toward Tracy. He reaches into his pocket and drops a blue sapphire earring into her glass.
I called to find out if you're ready to testify.
I'll be lucky if I get through the week alive. They probably followed me here. It isn't easy, Tracy. If you want to throw me in jail, go ahead.
Breathless drives off, fully aware that Tracy is following her. She leads him to the Club Ritz and disappears inside. Tracy positions himself in a building across the street. Using powerful binoculars, he looks through a window into the club and sees a remarkable sight. He calls headquarters on his wrist radio.
Pat, Sam, come in. This is Tracy. It looks like we got every top hood in town in the conference room of the Club Ritz. Prune Face, Ribs Mocha, Johnny Ram, Spud Spaldoni. These guys hate each other. Better get over here fast. We've got to know what's going on.
As Tracy watches from across the street, the conference room door swings open and in walks Big Boy Caprice, followed by Flat Top.
I remember you all from when I was nothing. Well, yeah. I have reasons to hate all of yous. But instead, I forgive. I put the past in the past where it belongs and concentrate on the future.
Enough of this sweet talk, big boy. What's this all about?
Togetherness. We're all divided, and that's bad business. That's right. Split up, the cops control us.
The cops control us?
What do you mean?
I mean we form a corporation. You're all board members with me as chairman.
Why you?
Because I got the most guns. The most guns wins. Any more questions, Spaldoni?
Nope. Just answers. Include me out.
Hoping to hear what they're saying, Tracy decides to move in closer. As he climbs a wall outside the club and creeps along a narrow ledge, Pat and Sam slowly round the corner in a police car. Meanwhile, the meeting inside continues.
What about Tracy? When do we kill him?
Yeah, what about Tracy?
We don't, Texie. If anything happens to Tracy, I'm the prime suspect. Leave Dick Tracy to me.
Spud Spaldoni rises and motions to his bodyguards.
I got a good business. I'll take my chances alone.
From his perch, Tracy sees Spaldoni and his men get into the limousine. A split second later, the car explodes in a ball of flame. In the conference room, everyone but Big Boy runs to the window.
Oh, very upsetting. Terrible.
Tracy narrowly avoids being seen by the men at the window. He creeps to the edge of the building, jumps to a lamppost, and slides down to the hood of a parked car. When Pat and Sam drive past, Tracy leaps to the top of their car and holds tight as they drive away. From the shadows, a strange, disfigured man watches Tracy's every move. His face is nothing but a featureless lump of flesh. He is the Blank. The next morning, there's a knock at the door of Tracy's apartment. Tracy cautiously calls out.
Who is it?
I'm Mrs. Scaff from the welfare department. I believe you have a young boy here who belongs in an orphanage.
Listening from the next room, the kid panics. He gathers his things and scrambles down the fire escape. Inside, Tracy confronts the welfare worker.
Mrs. Scaff, if you'll leave the situation to me...
But there is no welfare worker in the hallway. Only two ugly goons with guns pointed in Tracy's face. Flat Top and Itchy smile at their hostage.
We don't want no kid, copper. Get dressed.
Outside in the pouring rain, the kid runs down the street, then turns to take one last look at the only home he's ever known. He shivers, but not from the rain. Flat Top and Itchy are wrestling Tracy out the front door of the building and into a waiting car. As the car pulls away, the kid darts after it. Snubbing danger, he leaps, grabs hold of the back bumper, and manages to hang on. The car takes them to Tess's apartment building. Tracy is hustled into the basement, where Big Boy Caprice is waiting.
My associates would like it very much if you had a little accident here, but I disagree. Know why? I want you on my side, Tracy.
Get to the point, big boy.
If you were on my payroll, I'd make it worth your while.
Big Boy produces a huge wad of money and hands it to Tracy.
15,000 clams. It's a deal?
It's no deal. It's attempted bribery of an officer of the law.
Tossing the money in Big Boy's face, Tracy elbows Flat Top in the stomach and levels Itchy with a powerful left hook. The kid watches from a window as Tracy is grabbed from behind and tied with thick ropes to a chair.
You dumb cop, officer of the law. Ha! I am the law. Me. The boys here promised me this will look just like an accident.
As Itchy stokes an old boiler furnace, Big Boy turns up the heat gauge as high as it'll go. Then Itchy smashes the safety valve with the butt of his gun.
No safety valve. Know what that means, Flatfoot? It means kaboom! No more Tracy!
So long, sucker! You should have made the deal.
As soon as the kid is sure they've gone, he breaks the window and jumps into the basement.
It's gonna blow, kid! Get out while you can!
Ignoring Tracy's advice, the kid uses a sharp piece of glass from the window, saws through the ropes, and frees the detective. Tracy and the kid scramble up the steps and out the door, hurling themselves to the ground just as the furnace explodes. When the debris settles, they struggle to their feet. Their faces black, eyebrows singed, clothes torn.
Gee, Tracy, that was a lot of dough.
You're all right, kid. You're all right.
With a mind as fast as machine gun fire and a hide as tough as a bulletproof vest, he is the best detective on the force. Despite all odds, his objective is to crack every case that comes his way and bring the riffraff to justice. Beneath that trench coat is a real law enforcement machine with a soft spot for society's weak, vulnerable, and innocent. His name is Dick TRACY. When gang lord Lips Manless turns up in a cement suit, a trail of walnut shells leads Detective Dick TRACY straight to rival gangster Al Big Boy Caprice. A sapphire earring at the scene of the murder points to Lips' former mistress, the glamorous, breathless Mahoney, as Tracy's key witness. The beautiful singer, now Big Boy's property, won't testify. Meanwhile, the famed detective and his girlfriend, Tess Trueheart, have taken in a streetwise orphan named the Kid. When Tracy is abducted by Big Boy and his thugs, the Kid arrives in the nick of time and courageously saves Tracy from a fiery explosion. At police headquarters after the blast, Tracy awards the Kid a certificate of valor and makes him an honorary detective for his bravery.
Golly, thanks, Tracy.
Remember, kid, this is just a temporary certificate until you choose a name.
That night, the crooked district attorney, John Fletcher, calls a meeting with Big Boy in a deserted cemetery, but the gangster won't let him get a word in edgewise.
What's the matter, Fletcher? Don't I pay you enough? I don't care if Tracy put one and one together. You're still working for me. You're not out. When you're dead, then you're out. I own you. You're going to be the mayor of my city.
Later, in the sticky heat of an unusually hot night, Tracy sits alone in his apartment. Tess and the Kid have gone out for ice cream. Over the whine of the fan, Tracy hears the door open.
What kind of ice cream did you... Oh, it's you.
Aren't you gonna frisk me?
Tracy gathers his self-control, but Breathless is hard to resist.
Are you ready to testify against Big Boy?
Big Boy'll have me bumped off if I testify. Come here, copper.
At that very moment, Tess and the kid appear in the doorway. Tracy tries to explain.
We're making our move on Club Ritz tonight.
Tess and the torch singer exchange chilly stares before Breathless struts out. On the verge of tears, Tess sticks a drippy ice cream cone into Tracy's hand.
I bet she does some nifty undercover work.
In a deserted trolley car garage across town, Big Boy's piano player, 88 Keys, chews his gum nervously. He has been summoned here by the mysterious underworld figure known only as the Blank. Looking around the large, dim room, his eyes come to rest on a table. There sits a small leather briefcase and an envelope. The Blank steps into the room, illuminated from behind by a bright light. 88 Keys sees nothing but a silhouette of a trench coat and hat.
You want to make a lot of money helping Big Boy? Yes or no?
Yes.
Open the suitcase. Your first payment.
The Blank turns his head toward the light, and for a fleeting moment, 88 Keys is horrified to see nothing but a lump of flesh beneath the hat. The faceless Blank points to the envelope on the table.
Hand the envelope to Big Boy. Tell him it was slipped under your door. You don't know where it came from, and you never saw me. Got it?
Back at the Club Ritz, Big Boy listens as 88 Keys reads the note inside the Blank's envelope.
For 10% of your business, we guarantee Dick Tracy will not be a problem for you, and you will not be suspected of anything. Sounds like a pretty good deal, huh, Big Boy?
You want me to have you planted in the ground like a radish? Don't bring me a deal from someone you never saw and you don't know how to get to. Now get out of here. Go play the piano.
Now under Big Boy's management, Club Ritz is a glittering showplace of bright lights, gambling, and booze. A far cry from the quiet elegance maintained by Lips Manless. A kickline of scantily dressed showgirls snakes around the stage as the room fills with well-heeled patrons. At a special table in the middle of the club sits Big Boy, a king in his gaudy new castle. Seated at his table are Pruneface, Texie Garcia, Johnny Ram, and Ribs Mocha. Big Boy smiles with satisfaction.
Pretty classy, huh, Pruneface?
Yeah, it's the best joint in town, Big Boy. I gotta hand it to you.
Outside the nightclub, Dick Tracy and his men proceed with their plan to bug the upstairs conference room using the smokescreen of a fake raid. Tracy speaks into his wrist radio.
Take your positions, men.
Detective Sam Catchem and Bug Bailey tiptoe across the club's rooftop. Working quickly, they jimmy the lock to a skylight and slip down into the dark attic above the mob's conference room. As Bug unloads electronic equipment from his black satchel, Sam radios Tracy.
We're in, Dick.
On the street below, Tracy issues orders to his waiting men.
Okay, boys. Let's go. Move in.
Spotting the police approaching the club, the doorman quickly presses an alert button. Inside, panels slide across gambling tables, transforming the club into a common restaurant. 24 police pour into the room. Tracy strides over to Big Boy's table.
Gang's all here. Looks like a class reunion.
This is a private party. Invitation only.
Here's my invitation. A search warrant. Find anything, boys?
No gambling, no nothing, Tracy.
I'll be back, Big Boy.
Let us know when you're dropping in. I'll throw you a big party.
Outside, Detective Pat Patton gives his boss the lowdown.
Everything's in place, Tracy. Bug is set up in the attic.
The next day, wearing a headset and watching through a peephole drilled into the attic floor, Bug sees Big Boy's goons dumping money onto the conference room table. Bug whispers into his headset, which is a direct link to Tracy's wrist radio.
Looks like today is collection day, Tracy. Big Boy seems mighty happy.
All right. Take this dough over to 132 Broad Street, the Acme Diner, and make it snappy.
They're going to 132 Broad Street.
With his new eyes and ears, Tracy's battle against the mob escalates into all-out war.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! Tracy battles
In the Club Ritz conference room, Big Boy's anger reaches the boiling point.
Tracy, Tracy, Tracy! Everywhere I turn, it's Dick Tracy! What is he, a mind reader?
Startled by Big Boy's outburst, Bug knocks over a cup of coffee in the attic. Intent on his work, Bug does not realize that coffee is slowly dripping through the peephole. Big Boy continues his tirade, pounding his fist on a newspaper photo of Dick Tracy.
Tracy's not that smart. We got a rat in the organization, a canary who's tipping him off.
Big Boy notices a dark stain of liquid on the newspaper. He looks suspiciously at the ceiling and spots the hole. Knowing Tracy and his men are listening, Big Boy pretends to make a phone call.
Get down to the South Side warehouse in half an hour. This'll be the big payoff I've been waiting for.
Over at Mike's Diner, Tracy is having a late dinner with Tess Trueheart and the kid. The strain of being a detective's girl has become too much for Tess.
Tracy, I'm leaving.
Stunned, Tracy ignores the call on his wrist radio.
Tess.
Torn between his love for Tess and his commitment to law and order, Tracy finally answers the call.
I'm on my way. I'll be back, Tess.
He's out the door and in his car before she can hang her head to cry. As he speeds into the night, Bug's voice comes over Tracy's wrist radio again.
Tracy, there's a big payoff.
Suddenly, Bug is grabbed from behind by two of Big Boy's thugs, Pruneface and Influence.
You're the big payoff. Let's go, Bug.
Tracy arrives at the deserted warehouse just as Pruneface and Influence are giving Bug a cement bath. The gangsters spot him and open fire. But Tracy has tricked them by hanging his coat and hat on a broom and bucket. The two thugs turn just in time to catch Tracy helping Bug escape his doom. Pruneface aims his gun at the detective.
All right, smart guy. This is it.
Suddenly, a shot is fired. Pruneface falls to the ground, stone dead. The killer stands nearby. It is the mysterious Blank. Influence scurries off into the night, and before Tracy can recover from the shock of seeing this faceless creature, the Blank is gone. Influence makes straight for Club Ritz and recounts the night's strange happenings to Big Boy, who is not pleased.
All right, that's enough. I want them dead, both of them. Tracy and this no-face guy. Did you bums forget how to kill people? I want Dick Tracy dead.
Meanwhile, Tracy drives back to Mike's Diner, where he finds a police officer waiting with the kid.
Where's Tess?
Visiting her mother. She asked if me and the boys would take care of the kid whenever you couldn't. Sorry, Tracy. She said you knew.
His heart in his throat, Tracy sits down at the counter and orders a cup of coffee. The kid takes a seat next to him, and they look at each other, both realizing that someone very important is gone from their lives. In the back of Big Boy's limousine on a midtown street, 88 Keys once again tries to convince the crime boss to accept the Blank's offer. Big Boy pulls an envelope stuffed with money out of his pocket and hands it to the piano man.
Okay, you got a deal. Tracy is yours.
Across town, a flashlight beam crisscrosses the walls of Tracy's apartment. The Blank searches the detective's desk, finding a canceled check and a grocery list among the cluttered mass of lab reports and mugshots. The mysterious intruder pockets them and leaves. In a tree-lined suburb outside the city, Tess sits at a kitchen table while Mrs. Trueheart checks the muffins in her oven.
Of course he'd never take a desk job, Tess. Dick Tracy is torn between love and duty. It takes a lot of understanding to love a man like that.
Her mother's wisdom suddenly clears away Tess's confusion and sorrow. She realizes that her place is with the two people who need her most, Tracy and the kid.
Mother, can I put some muffins in a paper bag? I'm going back tonight.
Back in the city, the light from a single window shines from a printing shop. Inside, 88 Keys stands over an old man wearing a dirty green visor. He studies Tracy's grocery list and canceled check with his jeweler's eyepiece.
This should be easy.
Okay. In Tracy's handwriting, write this. District Attorney Fletcher, I have evidence that will destroy you. Bring $10,000 to room 429, Midway Hotel.
Later that night, Tess stops off at the greenhouse where she works to check her inventory list before heading over to Tracy's apartment. Without warning, the blank grabs Tess from behind.
I work for Big Boy. He wants you.
Across town at police headquarters, Sam Ketchum brings Tracy a long box with a note on it.
Dear Dick, we really should talk this out. Please come over to the greenhouse as soon as you can. I'll wait for you. Love, Tess. Boys, watch the kid, will you? I gotta go.
Arriving at the greenhouse, Tracy finds himself alone. Only music from a radio and a sack of muffins on the floor tells him that someone has been there. As he breathes in the sweet smell of the flowers surrounding him, he feels a slight weakness in his knees and sits in a chair. All of a sudden, the lights go out. The music crackles and fades from the radio speaker, and it is replaced by the raspy whisper of the blank.
Relax, Tracy. Just a little gas to put you to sleep. It won't kill you. It won't even hurt.
Back at Tracy's office, a welfare worker has come to take the kid to an orphanage. Tracy isn't around to argue. Later, at the Midway Hotel, a flea bag establishment in the center of town, the reception clerk is startled from his reading when the front door bursts open. He sees only a flash of Tracy's hat and trench coat as the detective walks quickly through the lobby and disappears up the stairs. In room 429, District Attorney John Fletcher waits for Dick Tracy. The door opens. Fletcher springs to his feet.
You're late, Tracy. Hey, what? Who are you? Oh!
DA John Fletcher, the corrupt public servant, lies dead on the floor. His killer wears the signature hat and trench coat of the famous crime fighter, Dick Tracy. But the face beneath that recognizable brim is not the famous detective's. It is the blank. The expressionless murderer walks across the corridor to the stairwell and opens the door, admitting 88 keys, with the limp body of Dick Tracy slung over his shoulder. They bring him into Fletcher's room and quickly set up the scene. Tracy is propped up in a chair. The murder weapon is placed in his hand. Bundles of money are stuffed in his pocket. Another gun is placed in Fletcher's hand, and the forged blackmail note is put in his pocket. The blank nods to 88 keys. 88 keys creates a disturbance that nearly everyone in the building can hear.
You can't blackmail me, Dick Tracy. Nobody blackmails me. You put that gun away, Tracy.
As the frantic yelling continues, the night clerk calls the police. The blank passes a bottle of ammonia under Tracy's nose before he and 88 scramble out the window and down the fire escape. As planned, Tracy wakes up just as the night clerk and the police burst into the room.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! Dick Tracy arrested for murder! No bail set! Extra, extra! Read all...
Days turn into weeks. As mob activity increases across the city, Tracy sits in a jail cell, unable to stop Big Boy's destructive crime spree. On the day he's scheduled for transfer to county jail, Tracy is allowed a visit from the kid.
Why would somebody kidnap Tess and not even ask for ransom? If I could just get back on the street.
Don't worry, Tracy. She's alive. She's gotta be. Hey, I got my permanent certificate of valor the other day.
Oh? I thought you had to pick a name.
I did. Here, take a look.
Dick Tracy, Jr.?
2 hours later, the famous crime fighter is led to a waiting squad car bound for county jail. He is surprised to see Sam and Pat in the front seat.
What are you two doing here?
It's a long trip to county jail. I'd say it would take at least 8 hours to get there.
What? It's only 5 miles.
Sam leans over the seat and unlocks Tracy's handcuffs. A broad smile crosses the grateful detective's face.
Call headquarters. Get a car over to meet us at 38th and Central. And step on it.
Siren blaring, the squad car speeds over to the mole's dimly lit apartment. Tracy grabs the gangster by the collar of his undershirt and throws him up against the wall.
Talk, you cockroach! Who set me up?
I didn't set you up.
Tracy reveals the tape recorder that was in the interrogation room where the mole spilled the beans. The mole's voice is heard, loud and clear.
Big boy kills Lips manless.
Talk, mole. Who set me up? Okay, boys. Let's go play this for Big Boy.
Wait! 88 Keys. He set you up. Big Boy paid him to get you out of the way.
Back at headquarters, a policeman picks up a phone. A strange voice is on the other end of the line.
If you're interested in getting Big Boy, go to 38th and Grand and wait for a call.
Hey, hold on. 38th and Grand? That's the Club Ritz.
In the main room of Club Ritz, New Year's Eve festivities have begun. A phone is brought to Big Boy, who sits surrounded by gangsters and their bodyguards.
Big Boy here.
How long's it been since you looked in your attic, Big Boy?
Who is this? Hey, Flat Top, better take a look upstairs. Something's fishy.
Meanwhile, Sam parks the squad car across the street from the club.
Okay, Sam, you take the front. Pat and I are going to the roof.
Inside, Flat Top rushes up to Big Boy.
Boss, I think you better come up to the attic.
With Flat Top leading, Big Boy races up the stairs to the attic where he discovers Tess Trueheart, bound and gagged.
What's she doing here? I've been set up, framed. Come on, Sweet Pea. Anybody shoots me, they shoot you.
Tracy reaches the skylight above the attic just in time to see Big Boy and Flat Top lead Tess out the door. Thinking only of her safety, Tracy leaps through the skylight to the attic floor in a hail of splintered glass. On the street below, the police surround the building. Hiding in the back seat of a squad car, the kid scans the scene. When no one is looking, he sneaks out of the car and hides in the shadows. Back inside the club, Big Boy drags Tess into the second-floor conference room where a dozen hoods are gathered.
Lock all the doors. Burn the record. Get the money. Break out the guns. Somebody set me up. They're gonna get me on kidnapping, a federal offense.
Panic sets in while Big Boy unlocks the safe and stuffs wads of money into his pockets. His gang breaks out machine guns and ammunition. They head downstairs where unsuspecting patrons are hoofing it up on the dance floor to one of the band's catchy tunes. Covering their weapons, the mobsters discreetly bolt the doors and take their positions at the windows. Outside, a bullhorn sounds, carrying Sam Catcham's voice through the walls of Club Ritz.
All right, Big Boy. You and your men come out with your hands high. We know you have Tess Trueheart in there, and we've got the place surrounded. You can't escape.
As patrons become frantic, the gangsters slip out a side door to the garage. They pile into their cars, hanging out the windows, guns ready for action. The drivers rev their engines. Big Boy and Tess climb into the back seat of the last car in line.
All right, Flat Top, we're ready. Hit your horn. Now!
The instant Flat Top lays on the horn, the cars streak in single file toward the garage door. But just as Flat Top lays his foot on the accelerator, Big Boy opens the back door and rolls out of the car with Tess. The first car in line smashes through the garage door and the war begins. Headlights explode, glass shatters, tires blow. One by one, the escaping cars and their dangerous passengers are cut down by the police. With guests cowering under tables, Big Boy leads Tess through the club's main lobby and into the wine cellar. Following at a safe distance, Tracy steps cautiously into the cellar, but they've vanished. He sees the entrance of what appears to be a tunnel, but the door is stuck. On the other side, he hears the distant moan of a foghorn.
It must lead to the river.
Tracy races toward the dark river, where the drawbridge is now being raised for a boat steaming out of the harbor. He spots Big Boy and Tess emerging from the opening of a large drain tunnel. The gangster yanks his unwilling companion through a subterranean door into a concrete room filled with huge revolving wheels and cranks, the drawbridge gear house. He ties Tess to a slowly moving gear. Tracy warily pushes open the door to the gear house. Big Boy aims his gun at the detective, using Tess as a shield.
Drop the gun, copper. Or this next bullet's got your girlfriend's name on it.
Don't do it, Dick.
Realizing he has little choice, Tracy drops his pistol. The gun falls into the huge revolving spokes of a moving gear, rattles to the floor, and spontaneously fires behind Big Boy. Startled, the mobster wheels around and shoots. Tracy drops to his knees and disappears.
Playing hide and seek, huh, Tracy?
Tracy finds a large wrench and tosses it against the wall. Big Boy quickly turns in the direction of the noise, giving Tracy a chance to clobber him from behind and knock the gun from his grasp. As Tracy tries to untie Tess from the churning gear, a shot is fired. It's the Blank, with a gun pointed directly at Tracy. Big Boy struggles to his feet. The Blank chuckles softly.
I outsmarted you, big boy. I knew you'd panic. I brought you down with kidnapping, the only crime you didn't commit.
Whoever you are, we can make a deal.
No deal, Caprice. I'm taking it all. With you two out of the way, I'll own this town.
Tracy begins to walk slowly toward the Blank, his steps purposeful, confident.
I know who you are. Go ahead and kill me.
The Blank aims the weapon directly at Tracy's heart, but the trigger finger is frozen. Lowering the gun, the faceless mobster pauses as if doubtful. Then the cold blue steel again rises toward the detective's heart, the finger slowly tightening on the trigger. Suddenly, the Kid hits the Blank with a cross-body block from behind. The faceless body pitches forward, the gun skidding across the floor. Big Boy scrambles after his own gun, grabs it, and blasts 2 shots into the Blank. He turns to finish off Tracy, but is met by a thundering punch that knocks him backward over a guardrail and down into the center of the moving gears. Tracy rushes over to Tess and unties her from the giant gear, just 1 tooth away from being crushed. Tess embraces her hero as a cruise ship full of New Year's merrymakers passes under the bridge outside.
I knew you'd find me, Tracy.
The detective crosses the room and kneels beside the still form of the Blank. Removing the wide-brimmed hat, his fingers find the edge of a mask, which he tenderly removes. From beneath the featureless mold cascades the blonde tresses of a woman Tracy always felt was more than she seemed. Breathless Mahoney.
Call an ambulance, Tess.
Tess stares at Breathless for a moment before she and the Kid hurry away to find a telephone. Propping Breathless up in his arms, Tracy sees the hint of a smile on her beautiful lips.
You were right. I couldn't squeeze the trigger.
It was a remarkable plan, Breathless. You almost pulled it off. The city would have been yours.
Yeah. My only mistake was you. Tell me the truth, Tracy. Could it ever have happened between us?
It came darn close.
Breathless smiles again. She looks almost peaceful. With a nearly lifeless hand, she pulls Tracy's face close to hers and kisses him. Then her hand, grown suddenly cool, falls away from his cheek. Shaking his head sadly, Tracy lays Breathless gently onto the floor. The next afternoon, Tracy, Tess, and the Kid eat a celebratory lunch at Mike's Diner. Another case in the bag. Tess is beaming with happiness as she listens to the Kid's story.
Also, he was her piano player. And that's how we got 88 keys to confess that she killed Fletcher.
Oh, you sound like a natural-born detective.
I'm gonna be the greatest detective who ever lived.
Tracy takes a small box from his pocket and hands it to the Kid.
You may be too smart to need this, but I'd like to give it to you anyway.
The Kid tears open the box and gasps. It's a small wrist radio. As he examines his new possession, Tracy turns his attention to Tess.
Tess, I've been thinking. It's time you and me got, well, you know.
Dick Tracy, are you asking me to marry you?
Well, yeah,
As if on cue, Pat's voice booms over both wrist radios.
Calling Dick Tracy. Calling Dick Tracy. Robbery in progress. Metropolitan Bank.
The kid leaps from his chair and dashes for the door. Instinctively, Tracy rises, takes 2 steps, then turns back to Tess.
What are you waiting for, Tracy? A nice, safe desk?
Tess, you're 1 in a million.
Tracy tosses her a small jewelry box, then heads for the door. Opening it, Tess finds a diamond ring. Outside, Dick Tracy's car streaks through the city toward the scene of another crime.